You're at a friend's birthday dinner. 8 people, good restaurant, the kind of place where nobody looks at the right side of the menu first. Someone asks how things are going. You've had 2 drinks, and instead of saying fine, you say the number, the actual number. The portfolio you've been adding to for 3 years, every paycheck, mostly alone, mostly without telling anyone. It sounds different out loud than it does in the app. Someone says, wait, seriously? The table turns toward you for a second. You pick up more than your share of the check. It just feels right. That's where it starts. You didn't get here fast. You're 32, working in IT project management in Nashville. $94,000 a year. Nothing glamorous, nothing that makes people at parties lean in. You started your Roth IRA at 27 because your older sister told you to, and you were too tired to argue. You set up automatic contributions, $400 a month into a total market index fund. And then you mostly ignored it the way you ignore a slow cooker. You let it run. For the first year, the balance felt almost insulting. 5,000, 8,000. You'd check it occasionally and close the app without feeling much. There was nothing to feel yet. It was just a number moving in one direction. Slowly, without applause. Then, somewhere in year 2, it started to feel real. The contributions were still automatic, still invisible to everyone around you, but the compounding had started doing something noticeable. You'd open the app, and the number would be slightly more than you expected. Not dramatically, just consistently, like a room that keeps getting a little warmer without you touching the thermostat. By the time you hit $112,000, you weren't checking weekly anymore. You didn't need to. You knew it was there. You knew what it meant. Not that you were rich, not even close, but that you had built something real without anyone's help, without anyone watching, without anyone knowing. That part mattered, the privacy of it. There's a specific feeling that comes with a number only, it doesn't exactly have a name. It sits somewhere between security and freedom. The knowledge that if something went sideways tomorrow, you wouldn't be starting from zero. You'd built a floor under your own life, quietly, on a normal salary, one automatic transfer at a time. You carried that feeling for months without telling a single person. And then someone asks how things are going. The table is loud and warm and full of people you've known for years. And the number, the one you've been carrying alone for months, finally wants somewhere to go. So you let it. One sentence, the real number. And the moment it leaves your mouth, you feel 2 things at exactly the same time. The relief of finally saying it out loud and something quieter underneath that you don't have words for yet. The table reacts well. Of course, it does. Someone says, that's incredible. Someone else says, seriously, how? You smile. You feel good. You don't notice anything changes that night. The dinner ends. Everyone hugs in the parking lot and you drive home with the windows down. Nothing feels different, but something is already in motion. The number is out there now, and the people who heard it filed it away the way people do. Effortlessly, permanently, without even meaning to. You just didn't feel it yet. That's the thing about the ratchet. You never feel the first click. You don't notice it the week after the dinner. You don't notice it the week after that either. Life looks exactly the same. Same apartment, same commute, same group text. Nothing has visibly changed. That's the part that makes it so hard to catch. It doesn't arrive as a change. It arrives as a new normal that installs itself so gradually, you'd swear it was always there. The first sign is a restaurant. 2 months after the birthday dinner, someone floats a place for a Saturday night. It's a step up from where your group usually goes. Not drastically, but noticeably. $15 more per plate. Cocktails instead of beer. The kind of place where the lighting is designed to make you feel like you're doing well. Nobody says anything about it. Nobody looks at you. But nobody pushes back either, and neither do you. Because pushing back feels cheap now. You said the number. The number is out there. Pushing back on a nicer restaurant feels like a contradiction. So you go. That's the first click. A ratchet is a mechanical device that only moves in one direction. You can advance it forward, 1 notch, 2 notches, 10, but you cannot run it back without removing the whole mechanism. That's not a metaphor. That's exactly what happened at that dinner table. You clicked the ratchet forward the moment the number left your mouth, and now every social decision you make gets measured against the floor you just set. Not by bad people, by normal ones. Your friends aren't calculating anything. Your family isn't scheming. They're just doing what humans do. They updated their mental model of you, and now that model shapes how they move around you. The restaurant suggestion, the group trip someone floats for next spring that's a little more ambitious than last year's. The Venmo request where the total gets split slightly unevenly, and you're on the generous end, and you don't say anything because saying something would feel small. None of it is a crisis. Each moment is barely noticeable. That's what makes it a ratchet and not just a bad month. It compounds. Every click forward makes the next click feel natural. Every small concession sets the new floor, and the floor only goes one direction, up. Because you cannot de-escalate without creating friction that costs more than the money ever would have. Telling your friends you want to go somewhere cheaper feels like an announcement. Splitting the check evenly when you've been covering the difference for 6 months feels like a withdrawal. The social cost of reversing the ratchet is always higher than the financial cost of letting it run. So, you let it run. This is what currently shows up in the data. Right now, roughly 40% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. Not because they can't do math, not because the cost of living hasn't gotten harder. It has. But a significant piece of that number is this. They earned more, let people see it, and then quietly built a life around maintaining what people saw. The income went up, the floor went up with it, and the gap between what comes in and what stays never really closes. You are not those people yet, but the ratchet is already running, and you can feel it, not as a problem, not even as pressure exactly, just as a slight tightening around the edges of decisions that used to feel free. The clicks are coming from the outside. That much is clear. What you don't know yet is that the louder mechanism is running somewhere you can't see, inside your own head, quietly rewriting the rules of what feels normal, what feels consistent, what feels like you. It's not just the people around you. That would almost be easier, enough if the pressure were purely external. You could name it, resist it, have a conversation about it. But what's running underneath the ratchet is something older and quieter than social expectation. It's your own brain, and your brain is very, very good at this. Here's what happened the moment you said the number at that dinner table. Your brain filed it, not the way your friends filed it, not as information about you, as information about itself, because the moment you broadcast a financial identity out loud, your subconscious takes it as a directive. This is who we are now. This is the version of us that exists in the world. And from that moment forward, without you noticing, without you agreeing to anything, your brain begins filtering your decisions through that identity. Quietly, constantly, at every point of purchase, every social moment, every small choice that seems to have nothing to do with money. The budget option on the menu starts to feel inconsistent. Not wrong, just slightly off. The way a picture hanging crooked feels slightly off. You can't always explain it. You just reach for something else. You're in line at the airport. There's a standard seat and an upgrade for $74. 6 months ago, you would have done the math and sat in the back. This time, your hand moves before your brain catches up. And somewhere in the half second between the tap and the confirmation, you're not thinking about the seat. You're thinking about the version of you that people now know exists. That version doesn't sit in the back. You don't think any of this consciously. That's the point. Your brain isn't asking for your approval. It's just protecting the identity you made public, the same way it would protect any belief you hold about yourself. Cognitive consistency. It's architecture, not weakness, but it is costing you. In increments small enough to feel invisible and frequent enough to add up to something that isn't. Here's what it adds up to. You're 35. You have $112,000 in your index fund. Real money, built over 3 years of automatic transfers and deliberate quiet. Conservative estimate, the visibility tax running through your daily decisions right now costs you $425 a month. Not in one place. In the upgrade, you didn't fight. The round you bought first. The don't worry about it you said at checkout because worrying about it would have felt inconsistent with the person the room now knows you to be. $425 a month. Put that into a total market index fund every month for the next 25 years. At 7%, the S&P 500's long-run inflation-adjusted return, the conservative number, the one that accounts for bad years and flat years and years where you check the balance and feel nothing. That's $344,000. Not lost to a crash, not lost to a bad decision, lost to a dinner table, lost to 40 seconds of feeling good about something you'd built alone for 3 years, lost to the gap between the identity you made public and the account balance quietly absorbing the cost of maintaining it. Let that number sit for a second. $344,000. Gone. Not dramatically, just steadily. One consistent, invisible, identity-protecting decision at a time. And here's the part that's hard to sit with. Your brain isn't doing this to hurt you. It's doing it to keep you coherent, to make the outside match the inside, to protect the story you told about yourself at that dinner table. The problem is that the story is now expensive. It starts with your parents. Not a demand, nothing that uncomfortable, just a phone call, maybe 6 weeks after the birthday dinner, and somewhere in the middle of it, your mom mentions that the water heater finally gave out. She's not asking. She's just telling you. But there's a pause after she says it. A small, specific pause that didn't used to exist. And in that pause, you can feel the number you said at dinner sitting between you. You tell her you'll handle it. You don't resent it. That's the thing that makes this hard to see clearly. You love your parents. The water heater is real. The money is there. And helping feels good in a completely genuine way. But 6 months ago, before the dinner, before the number, that same phone call would have gone differently. The pause wouldn't have been there. The expectation wouldn't have been there. You would have helped or not helped on your own terms, from your own decision, not from the quiet pressure of a room that now knows what you have. That's what visibility does to the people around you. It doesn't make them greedy. It makes them human. You handed them a map to your money, not maliciously, not even consciously, and people navigate maps. Your mom isn't calculating. Your friends aren't scheming. They just updated their model of you, and the model updated their behavior, and the behavior updated your life. One small natural interaction at a time. Denis Diderot was an 18th century French philosopher who spent most of his life broke. Then, Catherine the Great bought his personal library for a windfall. Real money, more than he'd ever had. The first thing he bought himself was a scarlet dressing gown. Beautiful, expensive, the kind of thing that announced something about the life he was now living. Then, his writing desk looked wrong next to it. So, he replaced the desk. The new desk made the curtains look dated. He replaced the curtains, the rug, the art. Within a year, one visible purchase had forced him to replace his entire environment to match it. And he ended up broke again. He wrote about it himself, called it a strange moral power his robe had over him. The objects demanded consistency. The identity demanded maintenance. Your version of this doesn't involve scarlet robes. It involves a lease on a car that makes more sense now that people know what you have. An apartment in a slightly better part of town, because the old one started to feel inconsistent with the version of you that's out there. Clothes that aren't extravagant but are different from what you wore 2 years ago. A gym membership you don't question anymore. None of it is dramatic. All of it is directional. And underneath the objects, the social layer keeps shifting. Your sister mentions a family trip and looks at you when she says it. A close friend asks if you can front a deposit, just until his next paycheck. And the ask feels natural because, of course, you can. Everyone knows you can. A coworker suggests a nicer spot for the team lunch, and doesn't ask if that works for everyone, because the assumption in the room is that it works for you. You say yes to all of it. Not because you're weak, because saying no now carries a weight it didn't used to carry. Saying no means explaining yourself against a number you already put on the table. The ecosystem rearranged itself around what you made visible, quietly, completely, and without anyone meaning any harm. 25 years is a long time to run a comparison, but that's exactly what you need: time. Because the difference between visible wealth and invisible wealth doesn't show up in year one. It doesn't show up in year three. It shows up slowly, the way the gap between two runners widens, not at the start, but somewhere in the middle miles, when the pace that felt sustainable turns out not to be. Here's the comparison. Two people, same age, both 35, same salary, $105,000 a year, solid but not extraordinary, the kind of income where you're doing fine and you know it. Both of them are putting 15% into their index funds every month. Same discipline, same starting point, same market. One difference: Ryan is a marketing director in Denver. Word got out. Not all at once. A dinner here, a comment there, a few posts that gave the shape of things away. The social ratchet has been running for 3 years. Status spending, the dinners, the upgrades, the family assists, the things it would now be socially painful to reverse, runs about $500 a month above what he'd spend if nobody knew. His actual monthly investment, after the friction, $812. Claire is a supply chain analyst in Columbus. Same income, same discipline, nobody knows. No floor to maintain, no identity to service, no number in the room that needs to be lived up to. Her discretionary spend above baseline is about $75 a month. Things she actually chose, free of obligation. Her monthly investment, $1,237. Same market, same 7% inflation-adjusted annual return, same 25 years. At 60, Ryan has $658,000. Claire has $1,002,000. That's a $344,000 difference. Verified, not estimated, not approximate. Calculated at 7% annual return, compounded monthly over 25 years. No one stole it from Ryan. No market crashed. No single bad decision was made. It was paid in $500 increments every month to the room that found out. But here's the part the number doesn't capture. At 57, something opens up. A smaller company, early stage, the kind of role that doesn't exist in a job listing because they're still figuring out what they need. It pays $71,000, less than either of them is making. But there's real equity, real ownership, work that means something more than the work that's been paying the bills. Ryan can't take it, not because he isn't interested, because the life he's been maintaining for 2 decades, the apartment, the lease, the social floor, the accumulated expectations of everyone who knows what he earns, requires $105,000. He is not in crisis. He is not struggling. He is simply unable to move. The visibility that felt like success has become the walls of a room he can't leave. Claire takes the job, not because she's braver, not because she planned for this specific moment, because nobody knows what she has. There is no floor to fall through. There is no identity to maintain. There is just the account balance, the opportunity, and the silence in which the decision can be made freely. That's what invisible wealth actually buys. Not a bigger number, though the number is bigger. Not security, though the security is real. It buys the ability to move when something worth moving toward finally appears. It buys optionality, the one thing money can purchase that has nothing to do with spending. Ryan has wealth. Claire has wealth and freedom. The difference between them isn't talent, income, or discipline. It's one dinner. 3 years ago, when the number came out. Go quiet. That's it. That's the whole thing. But quiet is harder than it sounds, because the entire architecture of modern life is built to make your money loud. Social media runs on visible upgrades. Credit card rewards programs are designed to make spending feel like achievement. Luxury brands don't sell products. They sell the moment of being seen with the product. The consumer economy doesn't profit from your wealth. It profits from your wealth being visible. Every system you move through every day is quietly engineered to raise your acoustic signature, to make you easier to detect, to pull your submarine to the surface, which means going quiet is an active decision, not a passive one. Start with an honest audit. Think about what you've said out loud in the last 12 months. Not just at dinners, in comments, in passing, in the casual way people talk about money when they feel safe. What number would someone who knows you assign to your net worth right now? Whatever that number is, you've set a floor at it. Every data point you add makes the floor more permanent, more load-bearing, harder to walk back without the kind of social friction that costs more than money. Stop adding data points. That's step one. Not a dramatic announcement, not a reversal, not a conversation. Just stop. Let the submarine descend. Let the signal go quiet. The people around you will adjust to the silence faster than you think, because the model they built of you is only as current as the last thing you gave them. Step two is harder. It's about what you do the next time you hit a milestone. Because you will hit one, the next $50,000, the account crossing $200,000, the month where the compounding finally starts to feel like it has real weight. And when you do, the impulse is going to be there, the same one that was there at the birthday dinner. The number wanting somewhere to go, the relief wanting an audience, the quiet pride that's been building alone for months, wanting just once to be seen. Don't. Not because the pride isn't earned, it is. Not because the milestone isn't real, it is. But the celebration doesn't need a room to be real. You can close the app, make a cup of coffee, and sit with it alone. And it still happens. The number is still yours. The years of automatic transfers, the patience, the Tuesday deposits nobody congratulated you for. None of that disappears because you didn't announce it. It just stays protected. Step three is the one that changes how you move through everything else. Build a number that only you know. Not a budget, not a goal. A floor. Liquid, private, sitting in a high-yield savings account or a money market fund where it earns something while it waits. A number large enough that you can absorb the pressures that used to move you. You can sit at a dinner table knowing you could cover the whole thing and quietly order from the middle of the menu and feel nothing. Not deprivation, not restraint, nothing, because the security is real and it belongs entirely to you, and not one person in that room has a vote on it. That's what financial silence actually feels like from the inside. Not lonely, not small, steady. You built $112,000 alone in the dark without anyone watching. You know how to do this. The only question is whether you're willing to keep doing it now that people know the number, or whether you're ready to let the account you haven't told anyone about become the most important one you have. The most dangerous thing you'll do this year for your financial future probably isn't a bad investment. It's probably a sentence. At a dinner, when the number wants somewhere to go, keep it. You already know what the number is. Not the one in your index fund, the other one. The one that represents what you've quietly handed away since the room found out. The upgraded seats, the checks you covered, the water heater. The dinners kept getting slightly nicer. You didn't add it up because adding it up would mean sitting with it. And sitting with it is uncomfortable in a specific way that has no name. But you know, the account you haven't told anyone about, the one growing in the dark, on its own, without an audience. That's not a secret. That's a strategy. The most effective financial move available to you right now costs nothing, requires no app, no budget, no plan. It just requires you to say less than you want to. The number stays yours the moment you decide to keep it.